What a day! What a lovely day!
Mad Max Fury Road is directed by George Miller and stars Tom Hardy, Charlize Theron, Nicholas Hoult, and a shitload of random Aussie cameos. Fury Road marks the 4th installment in the Mad Max franchise, as well as the return of George Miller directing his 4th Mad Max film. And I love that. The dude is 70 years old and he's just so keen to smash another one out. Mad Max was his baby. He created the character of Max and the world around him, and it's so good to see him continuing to do so. Now, Fury Road picks up where Beyond Thunderdome left off over 30 years ago. We are getting old. So the basic premise of the film, and like I said, the film picks up after Thunderdome. Max has got long hair, he's got a beard, he just looks like a hobo, and he's constantly on the run from road warriors. He then gets picked up by a bunch of henchmen that work for a man called Immortan Joe. Now, Immortan Joe is pretty much a cross between Bane, Darth Vader, and a zombie. He has his own little utopia. He farms milk, he farms veggies, he farms people. The dude looks disgustingly awesome. And I guess you could say everyone sees and worships him as a god. So like I said, Max is captured by his cronies, and essentially what he's used for is a human blood bag to help Immortan Joe's injured soldiers. And Max happens to become a blood bag from one of Immortan's soldiers called Nux, played by Nicholas Hoult. Now, Nicholas Hoult's character Nux is the stereotypical, doesn't know if he wants to do this, doesn't know if he wants to worship this person, and wants to break free. I've got to break free. Now, Charlize Theron's character of Furiosa lives in this community, and she's taking a rig out to some oil station to get supplies. She has actually stowed away in her rig some of Immortan Joe's sex slaves. This movie just sounds kinkier and kinkier the more I go on. And that's pretty much the film. It's chasing Furiosa and Immortan Joe's sex slaves with Max. Now, before this film was made, it was put into what's called development hell, where it might not have been made at all. Originally, George Miller didn't want to direct a 4th one because he don't think he had a probable story and something that would be worthwhile to put on screen. He then finally came up with a good story, started writing it. He was going to have Mel Gibson return as the character of Max. Mel Gibson unfortunately dropped out. They then got Tom Hardy for the role of Max. They were going to film up in Broken Hill near Tamworth in buttfuck nowhere, Australia, because that's where they filmed the previous Mad Maxes, in Broken Hill. So time came to film up in Broken Hill, and after nearly 30 years, the rains hit. So as you can imagine, it's lush green vegetation everywhere. That is not the world of Mad Max. So the whole crew had to hightail it to Africa to film the rest of the movie. Now, despite all these setbacks and recastings and whatnot, how does the film hold up? Well, let me put it this way. If a movie has physically affected me, and only 2 movies have, The Dark Knight Rises and Captain Phillips, I can officially say I can add Mad Max Fury Road to that list. Guys, this movie was so fucking intense and gnarly. And if you're wondering what I mean by physically affect me, like if it makes me feel overwhelmed, gives me anxiety, makes me feel uneasy, then I know the movie has done its job 110%. And that is what Mad Max Fury Road did the whole way through. Okay, let's talk about the character of Max played by Tom Hardy, because I know some people had a problem with Mel Gibson being recast. I understand that a lot of people are creatures of habit and they want to maintain that original chemistry that Mel Gibson had on screen. But you know what? Tom Hardy did an amazing job. I will say he is no Mel Gibson as the role of Max, but you know what? Hardy made it his own, as he always does with any of his roles. And I gotta give him props because he did a pretty decent Australian accent at the beginning with his opening monologues, and then at the end he kind of shifted back towards Bane. Oh, you think darkness is your ally? Then I will break you. And yeah, I give Hardy props because an Australian accent is a damn hard one to do. Like South African, it's very hard to do, you can't do it. That was my shitty South African accent attempt. And we all know the character of Max doesn't really talk a lot, so it was funny. Tom Hardy just kind of grunts for most of the film. And it's like as if they had a microphone embedded in his mouth recording the Foley for his grunts. This is my shitty microphone setup, by the way. It's got complete with sticky tape and whatnot. I'll get a better one day. Now, Charlize Theron's character, Furiosa, she fucking kicked ass. And a lot of people were saying she stole the show from Max, and I gotta agree, she had a lot more screen time action-wise than Tom Hardy did playing Max. She's a total badass, she's a warrior, she knows how to kick ass, she's got this gnarly biomechanical arm that has like pliers on her thumb, so she's like an amputee. And it's Charlize Theron, so she just gave an amazing performance. She delved deep into some dark places with this character, and I really dug that. You get it? Okay, the character of Immortan Joe. Like I said, he's a cross between Darth Vader, Bane, and a zombie. Why are the bad guys always rotting away? They look stinky and old, and yet they've got so much energy. You know the director and the writer have done an amazing job bringing a villain to life whenever they're on screen, and their presence makes you feel uneasy. That is what Immortan Joe did. He looks terrifying with his dark eyes, and he's got like a makeshift Halloween Bane mask on that's keeping him alive with like a breather thing. And he just has this menacing voice like,
I want them back and in my property.
The dude is rotting away and falling apart, yet he's still determined to keep on going. And another little interesting fact, because I'm just so fucking full of them. The original villain from the first Mad Max film, the Toe Cutter, plays Immortan Joe. So that was very nice of George Miller to do that. And last but not least, Nicholas Hoult as the character Nux. Now, I'm really taking a liking to Nicholas Hoult lately. I thought he did a wonderful job in X-Men First Class as Beast. The kid has this amazing intensity where you just stare into his eyes and you're like, holy shit. And like Charlize Theron, Nicholas Hoult delved deep into his psyche and brought out a really dark side of him, yet also a light side, and I like that. He balanced it out perfectly, so well done, son. Now, one thing that got my attention when I saw the very first trailer was the cinematography. And what I love is Miller isn't trying to hide anything. He doesn't try and do tight little camera angles. He wants you to see the full scope of where they're filming. Yes, it is a 2-hour-long car chase, but it's done so well, and the cinematography sells it and helps it drive it home. You get it? And of course, as we all know, for a movie of this caliber and this theme, you're gonna need a stunt team that have had their fucking Wheaties for breakfast. And they did. All the stunts were done in camera, and I don't know how the hell they did it, because some of them seem absolutely batshit crazy. You got blokes flying side to side on poles, jumping cars, explosions, and it was all in camera. And speaking of the stunts, the cars were absolutely gnarly. It's like redneck heaven. They're just chopped and changed and just fused all into one, and spikes and black and whoa, it's getting hot in here. Now, I'm not really a petrol head at all. I'll go through phases, I'm like, oh, that's a really nice car, I like that. And then next minute I'm like, what's for dinner? But when I dropped the missus home and I was driving home, I was that influenced by the movie. Every time someone drove past me or overtook me, I was pretty much like this. You know, movies had a big impact on you when you do shit like that. And as I said at the beginning of the review, the movie left me extremely overwhelmed, exhausted, tired, and that was all from the grand final chase at the end of the film. Everything that could happen did happen. They did things that you had never seen on screen before. You're pretty much like, oh my god, they did that. What the fuck? Oh my god. And from what I've told you of the story, it seems extremely basic and simple and stereotyped. There's no dialogue needed by the cast to explain the story. The whole story is in the chase. You rely heavily on the visuals to explain the story to you, and Miller has done that in a textbook style. It's very hard for a movie to pull that type of gig off, and they did it. I knew exactly what was going on, even though the dialogue is minimal. Guys, Mad Max Fury Road is fuel, it's blood, it's violence, it's just testosterone and blood and spitting ass flying everywhere. It's an amazing time at the movies. It'll get your adrenaline pumping, and with that, I'm giving Mad Max Fury Road 5 fucking geeks out of 5. So if you guys have seen Mad Max Fury Road, please drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Even though I'm 2 weeks late, everyone has probably already seen it by now. As always, thanks very much for your continuing support, guys. You are awesome. And until next time, geeks, always remember, cosplayers do it best.